They say sailing is peaceful, the wind in your sails, the open horizon, the call of adventure. But here's the thing, sailing can also be absolutely terrifying because once you leave the dock, Mother Nature doesn't care about your weekend plans. Out there, far from shore, the rules change. Every sailor, no matter how experienced, eventually learns one hard truth. The ocean always wins if you stop respecting it. Every time you push off from land, you're stepping into a world that's older, wilder, and far more powerful than us. It's easy to romanticize sailing. The sunsets, the dolphins jumping at the bow, the sound of the hull slicing through blue water. But the ocean has another side, and sometimes it shows its teeth. Let's talk about what happens when things go wrong and why seamanship and safety are always what truly separate the adventurers from the survivors. 1979, during the famous Fastnet Race off the coast of Ireland, 303 boats started. Only 85 made it to the finish. A freak storm developed faster than anyone had expected it to, with hurricane-force winds gusting over 70 knots. Imagine being out there, pitch black night, towering seas, the wind howling like a freight train. Boats were capsizing, dismasting, breaking apart. Crews were washed overboard, tossed into freezing water. 18 people lost their lives. The storm forced the sailing world to completely rethink what prepared really meant. Out of tragedy came progress, better safety equipment, more training, and a new respect for weather forecasting, not to mention a complete change in the design of hulls of sailboats. Fast forward to 1998, another legendary race, another brutal reminder, the Sydney to Hobart race. What started as a fun Boxing Day tradition turned into one of the worst disasters in modern sailing history. The fleet was hammered by 80-knot winds and 60-foot seas in the strait. 6 sailors died, 5 boats sank, and dozens of maydays filled the airwaves. Survivors described the waves as mountains, literally walls of water collapsing without a pattern or any mercy. And these weren't amateurs, these were some of the best sailors on the planet. But when the ocean decides to throw a tantrum, skill only gets you so far. Then there's the case of Cheeki Rafiki, a modern Beneteau First 40.7 returning home from the Caribbean in 2014. Somewhere in the North Atlantic, the keel detached from the hull. We figured out later it was due to structural fatigue and groundings, but something that you couldn't see without pulling the boat out of the water. Within seconds, the yacht flipped upside down. 4 sailors, all experienced, were lost. It was a chilling reminder that even modern yachts with their sleek lines and advanced gear have vulnerabilities that can go unnoticed until it's too late. And who could forget the story of Rebel Heart, a young family sailing around the world in 2014 when their 1-year-old daughter got seriously ill in the middle of the Pacific. They called for help and the US Navy had to perform a rescue thousands of miles from land. The boat was abandoned, drifting alone. The parents faced brutal public criticism, but the story exposed how quickly a dream voyage can turn into a life or death situation. Even solo sailors, the ones who make it look effortless, face unimaginable danger. Take Donald Crowhurst, who entered the 1968 Golden Globe race to sail solo around the world. He faked position reports, became trapped in a web of lies, and eventually lost his mind at sea. His empty trimaran was found adrift in the Atlantic. His logbooks told the story of desperation and psychological collapse. The sea doesn't just test your sailing, it tests your sanity. And still, for every disaster, there are incredible tales of survival. In 2015, a couple sailing their catamaran Rainmaker off North Carolina were caught in a violent storm. A rogue wave shattered their windows, flooding their boat. They made it onto deck, activated their EPIRB, and waited. They were rescued hours later by the US Coast Guard. Their catamaran later found floating thousands of miles away, still intact. It's stories like that which prove that preparation and quick action can make the difference between tragedy and survival. Even the best prepared sailors face risks. Laura Decker, the teenage sailor who circumnavigated the world solo, said she never feared storms as much as she feared complacency, because the ocean doesn't forgive mistakes. It doesn't care about your age, your confidence, or your Instagram followers. But here's the twist. This isn't meant to scare you away from sailing. It's meant to remind us, all of us, that sailing isn't just about freedom. It's about responsibility. Because the best sailors aren't the ones who brave the biggest storms. They're the ones who avoid them altogether. They study weather, they plan conservatively, they reef early, keep their gear maintained, and never let pride steer the boat. Safety isn't a buzzkill, it's seamanship. It's respect for forces way beyond our control. It's the difference between a good story and a search and rescue report. Before every trip, check the rigging, inspect your through hulls, make sure your life jackets are serviced, your flares are in date, your emergency gear works. File a float plan, learn how to use your VHF radio properly, practice man overboard drills until they feel automatic, because when things go bad out there, they go bad very fast. You won't have time to Google what to do. And maybe most importantly, learn to read the sky. Every experienced sailor can tell you the ocean will give you warnings. The shift in wind, drop in barometric pressure, the eerie stillness before the chaos, or the boat making a weird noise you've never heard before. Seamanship isn't luck, it's awareness. Sailing isn't safe, but it's not supposed to be. That's what makes it powerful. That's what makes it real. Every time you leave the dock, you're signing an unspoken contract with the sea. You respect me, and I'll let you pass. Yes, sailing is an adventure. It's freedom, it's joy, it's sunrise over glassy water and stars brighter than you've ever seen on land. But it's also risk, and that's what makes it meaningful. The danger is part of what makes sailing such a beautiful teacher. It humbles you, it makes you pay attention. The ocean doesn't demand fear, it demands respect. Give it that, and it'll give you everything in return. Personally, I have limits for all my boats, unless we're in racing conditions. Lady K, at about 14,000 pounds, has a 22 knot limit on wind speed. Of course, unless we're racing with a solid crew and not far from a safe harbor. 22 knots of wind leisure sailing. Any more than 22, we don't go out. My Hobie Cat's my limit with friends is 15 knots of wind. With racing friends and proper prep, the limit's more like 25 for those boats. The lasers in the CL14 don't go out in anything over 15. When I have to get somewhere more than about 30 or 40 miles away, I start looking at bailout harbors along the way in case things go wrong. I watch the wind forecast and which way the waves are coming from, and I set the boat up accordingly. If it's going to be pushing the limits, I'll put a reef in while I'm at the dock. Move the jib cars back to flatten the sail out. Put the Cunningham on hard and drop the Traveler. Depowering is the key to a safer ride in heavy winds. I'll also check fuel filters and water separators and how much fuel is actually in the tank. How old is that fuel? I try to assume every single thing that can go wrong on a passage, and I actually lose sleep over what my plan of action will be for each thing that could happen. What if we lose steering in the shipping channel? What if we lose the main or the jib? What if the furler jams and we're stuck with a full jib? A plan for everything, and hopefully if any of it happens, I'll already have thought it through so I don't have to panic in real time. So sail smart, sail safe, and remember, the scariest part of sailing is not being prepared. Safety first, adventure forever. Love to hear from you guys and your sailing stories in the comments. What's your worst and scariest sailing moment? Do you want to tell that story in a video chat with me so we can air it on this channel and help more people avoid the same drama that we've been through? I'd love to make some videos of those Zoom calls if you want to get on with me and tell your story. Also, you might notice I have my new favorite shirt on. This is Sailing Zingaro shirt that I got from James at the boat show. He is awesome. If you haven't seen Zingaro on YouTube, you really need to check him out because he and I have the same mission to get more people sailing more easily. And I sure couldn't make these videos without the help of the patrons. People who, for as little as a couple of bucks an episode, make this all possible. If you'd like to help support the mission, please consider becoming a patron. Patrons also get access to our Lady K group chats and direct messages with me. If you want a consult to get some help with your boat shopping, I'm available to all the paid patrons. Just drop me a message in the Patreon app. Until next time, friends, keep the heavy side down, but not too far down. I love you guys.